So I know a lot of you have been interested in getting a Gazelle T3 yourselves, and it was discontinued last year and there were none available for many, many months. Well, Gazelle has just announced the new redesigned version. I think supplies are still limited, but that is good news. The T3 is coming back. And I'll put a link to that in the description below. I don't have any affiliation with Gazelle. I bought this. I'm not sponsored in any way. I just have really appreciated this tent. The Gazelle has worked out great for me exploring in the Forester, because it gives me a large, comfortable space that I can get into without necessarily having to have a $3,000 rooftop tent on top of the car, and without trying to squirm around sleeping inside the car. It's fast to set up, it's fast to break down, and it's very roomy inside for one person, very comfortable. That said, it's not ideal for winter camping. The entire roof of the Gazelle is made of mesh, and so it's extremely well ventilated, and that's not a problem I found in spring, summer, or fall. But when you get into winter and it's truly cold, and especially if there's a little bit of air movement at all, the tent can really be drafty. And so inside the tent you have this constant sense of air moving, which makes you feel even colder. Additionally, packing this thing away when it's wet or muddy is, honestly, it's not a lot of fun. This maybe wouldn't be my first choice if I was extensively doing a lot of winter camping. I've made do with the downfalls because the upsides have been so good for the way I travel and the way I explore in the Forester. So I recently had a follower kind of get on my case because I posted a photo on Instagram of a campsite, and I included the information that it was in Central Oregon and that it was in Deschutes National Forest. The concern was that I was giving away too much information. Ironically, the biggest complaint I get most of the time is that I don't share information, or I don't share enough information about the places that I go. But you have to understand that there is a lot of pressure in the community to not just give away all the great spots. They're out there. I find them. I found this area without anyone telling me about it. I found this campsite last year without anyone telling me about it. You can do it too. You know, all it takes is a little bit of research in advance and then a willingness to explore. It's much more rewarding when you find your own spots. I do feel that referring to a national forest is not giving anything away. I'm in the Willamette National Forest right now, and there's, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of square miles that encompasses, but this could be anywhere. This could be anywhere. It did draw to my attention the fact that I have been a little remiss in talking about part of what the initial or original mission of Softroading the West was to be, which is right in the tagline, respectful exploration of our public lands. It's true that over the past year or so, I've been very focused on the adventures and the places that I've got to, and along with practical stuff on the Forester or whatever, and I haven't talked a whole lot about respectful exploration. And that is important as new people come to the channel, as new people come to this activity, and more people start exploring the wilderness. People don't necessarily know all of the protocols for doing this kind of wilderness camping. I don't know if any of my videos would ever reach the kind of person who would leave trash around a campsite. What you can do, and I suspect that virtually all of you who watch my channel would pick up your trash behind you. The other thing to do is to actively seek out trash that other people have left behind and pick it up. That makes a difference. That keeps the sites pristine and makes it a better experience for the next person to come along. And the next person who come along, seeing this pristine site, may feel more compelled to leave it clean, leave it the way that they found it. But what I like to do, and what we all should try to do, is actually leave it better than we found it. In that same vein, I want to show you something else back in camp. So this is the fire ring in our campsite, and yeah, there's a little bit of trash. That's definitely not unusual. But also, these rocks. Now, I'm sure whoever painted these rocks was well-intentioned. I bet they're respectful, they enjoy nature, they probably picked up their litter. But this is not leaving no trace. However happy and cheery this may seem, this is no different than painting a huge gang tag on the side of a great big rock face, which, you know, I'm sure whoever did this would never dream of, you know, painting their name in 6-foot letters on some rocky cliff. But this is the same thing. This is leaving paint on rocks in nature that need to be left natural. So this site was actually pretty clean. There wasn't very much litter. What I like to do sometimes is look in the bushes around a campsite, because for some reason people think that if they toss their cans and bottles off into the trees, it's taking care of it. How hard is it just to put it in a garbage bag and take it home? Or in this case, Jason's garbage bag.
Yeah, my garbage bag.
Some basic things to keep in mind for those of us who do vehicle-based wilderness exploration include staying on the trail, camping in previously established dispersed sites, using existing fire rings or a portable fire pit whenever possible, taking care of business responsibly, cleaning up shells and target material, and just generally leaving things better than you found them. Being without a vehicle, I had to minimize my load riding up in Jason's van, so I didn't bring my Jackery 500. A couple of days in the wilderness quickly drained my mobile devices and my assorted camera batteries, so I've borrowed Jason's Jackery 300 to get all my electronic gear recharged. I have to say, I'm impressed by how effective this tidy little unit is. It has recharged all of my electronic equipment while barely making a dent in its capacity.
So another question I get asked a lot, aren't you afraid of wild animals when you're out in the wilderness? And my usual response is no. I mean, it seems like the animals that are out here, you know, whether it's cougar or bear or whatever, are really more afraid of us than them. But what I was going to ask you was, since you've been doing this for a lot more years than me, and you're out more frequently, much more frequently, you're out all the time, have you had any run-ins with anything at all?
I mean, yeah, I mean, I definitely, you know, because I do stuff outdoors. I hunt and I fish during times, and it's actually more during hunting season where I'm really out in the woods.
Oh yeah, as opposed to when you're camping.
Yeah, and I'm kind of creeping along, or I'm calling for an animal or something like that. I have called in some cougars. You know, I had actually 3 cougars come in, and at one time. I think it was a female and 2 older cubs. And they came in, but again, as soon as they realized that I was there and they winded me and saw that I was there, I mean, they were gone. They were out of there.
Yeah.
And the same thing with bears. I've had a couple encounters with bears up close, but again, usually as soon as they see that I'm there or they figure out that I'm there, they're out of there. Now, as from a camping perspective, you know, I get that question a lot too, and especially when it comes to us cooking outdoors.
Yeah.
And I think things are a little bit different in areas like on the East Coast where bears have become very accustomed to humans.
Yeah, or national parks in California.
Right, exactly.
Where there's always people, always campers all the time. Yeah.
So a lot of the places that I go, I don't think the animals are very accustomed to people being there, so they're not tuned to going to those locations and causing problems.
That's exactly been my theory. That's what I've been telling people. But I was curious about your experience.
Quite honestly, the only time I've had a problem with an animal was at a state park, and it was raccoons, and they were very, very accustomed to people being there, and they literally sat around our camp waiting for us to either give them something or leave, basically, with food on the ground. But other than that, like being out in the places that I typically go, I have, you know, knock on wood, I have never had a problem.
Okay, I know you all are eager to find out what's going on with the Forester, and honestly, I am too. There's a few things that are still up in the air, a few question marks still. I think by this weekend, I should have some definitive information. I'll be able to talk to you guys about
what's going to be happening, what's happening next with the Forester, and what we'll be doing from there. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to one of my Patreon supporters, Drea, who she makes masks, and she has made masks for Lucie and Colin and I, and they fit nicely over the face and around the ears. She has an interesting variety of fabrics and can sort of personalize them. I've got a foresty version one. For Lucie, she made Star Wars versions.
Yeah. I'm a Star Wars geek.
I know none of us enjoy wearing masks, but it's the necessity right now. So if you need more masks, check out Drea. I'll put the link down in the description below. Thanks, Drea.
Thanks everyone for watching, and hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
In just a few days, Lucie and I will do a live stream chat. We should have some updates about the Forester, and we'll answer your questions and talk about whatever comes up in the chat. We'll be online at 3 p.m. Pacific this Thursday. That's midnight in Paris and Friday morning in Australia. Come say hi, and we'll answer as many questions as we can.